Good morning. It is Monday morning and 9:12 a.m. October 20th. We are actually progressing through this month very quickly. And I would say that I actually slept pretty good last night. I was hoping I could show you I changed my bedding. I changed my bedding. I took my bedspread off. I'm going to put my bedspread back on. I only have one bedspread at the moment, and it's yellow. And I just took it off for the summer and just been using my blanket. As soon as it gets colder, I'll put it back on. But I decided to just kind of change the color scheme. I changed my sheets and I changed like the main pillow and just wanted to give it a different color. I'm going for like a blue and purple type theme right now for sleep. Okay, I need proper rest, and I think it's important for me to kind of get into those colors. So anyway, I wanted to talk about one of the first thoughts that came to my mind this morning. Okay, when I woke up this morning, the first person that came to my mind was a friend I used to have. Well, I don't know if she was really a friend. I'm going to call her a perp. How about this? But, I grew up spending a lot of time with this person. Her name was Amanda Scott, and she was a Jehovah's Witness. And the reason why she was popping up into my mind is because I remember back in the 90s, I was living in an apartment with my son, of course, okay? And she would still come around, because at the time I was not completely separated from the Kingdom Hall. So she would come by and, she would confide in me, and I think it's because we spent a lot of time together, and she would tell me her problems a lot of times. And I know that I remember one time she came to my house and she was crying and she was telling me that she was being bullied at work by a lot of overweight women. And now I'm starting to think. Now, I remember Bruce was dated Amanda, or they weren't really dating, but they were kids. They played in school and they kind of liked each other, okay? And I personally have these suspicions that his mother may have arranged her jobs for her, okay, and had women bully Amanda. And maybe she didn't realize what she was doing at the time. See, I do believe that they understand what they're doing, okay? A lot of women feel jealous and okay, when they start talking and they start recruiting other women to bully other women in the workplace. So if by mere chance Bruce's mom helped her get that job, she could have been putting bugs in people's ear to harass Amanda. So Amanda came to my house one day, and the minute I invited her in, she threw down her keys and she literally just broke down and started crying and saying that the girls at work were making it impossible for her to make it, to live, to do anything. They were causing her a lot of problems. So I personally think the reason why she popped into my mind today is because she wanted me to know that the downfall of her life had a lot to do with this sort of stuff, okay? And the message I'm getting is that it had a lot to do with her belief in her religion. Okay. And so anyway, um, Amanda is linked to Terry. Amanda is linked to Bruce. She's also linked to this particular religion, okay, who bullies women, okay. I would like to say that Amanda was a Jehovah's Witness, and she took it very seriously, meaning she wore very modest clothes. She wore very modest clothes, okay. Like I remember her and I used to go shopping sometimes right after payday, and we would try on clothes and stuff like that. And she wouldn't even wear like straight skirts, okay. She was very, very, like, and straight skirts cover your entire body. It's just that she felt as though it was too form-fitting. She was like, no, I don't think I would wear that. That's not, like, something that was modest. So she was a very modest dresser, but it was still like I felt as though these people were causing her problems in her workplace, okay, and it was wrong. So I noticed that throughout, because I've been mentioning this too, and I'm putting these situations together. Now I know when I was at Murray Family Farms, actually, I backing it up. Okay, I know that I've been harassed and bullied by women in general in the workplace. Okay, um, eh, at or organized sports, there was Lisa. She was my the accounts receivable clerk. Okay, the day I started work. Okay, the day I started work, she was sitting here talking to me about my body. Okay, she was talking to me about my body. I was standing on top of the desk, putting some was it a decoration or something? It was something I had to do. My boss told me to go hang something up, so I was doing it. So I was standing up on the desk, and she kept talking to me about my body. And then she was whispering to other girls about it and stuff like that. Okay. So I personally think that Terry has been causing these sort of problems for a very long time. The bullying. Okay. And I know that it's often people normalize this like, oh, she's the best, so let's attack her, or some sort of mind thinking in their mind. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you are a manager, if you're a business owner, you need to nip this stuff in the bud. And the reason why is because uh not okay, how can I say this? It's obviously these people create toxic work environments. Okay, they create toxic work environments. Now, when I left organized sports, I started working at a place called Murray Family Farms. And when I was there at Murray Family Farms, I'm going to say that I liked the job at first. Okay, and the girls that I worked with in the office. There was two girls. There was a girl named Selena, and I forgot the other girl's name. I don't know, not why I forgot, but she was, I would say rather overweight, but still. Okay. I remember, at first Selena and I seemed to get along well. Okay. And it seems like right after I brought my ex-husband to the Christmas party, like in 2010, this is when things started to completely change. Completely change. Okay. And she was my subordinate, and then all of a sudden she was trying to flip the script, as well as getting together with other people to try to overthrow my position. And I remember people would come in like with scripted things to say, like, Selena was an overweight girl, so Vicky Murray would come in and say, oh, look how Maria, look how pretty Selena is, and stuff like this, right? And I kept thinking, okay, what it is, I kept thinking they were focusing on her being biracial, that was racist. All of those sort of things were inappropriate anyway. But I do believe that Selena Bruce collaborated with a lot of other overweight women, because when I left uh, Murray Family Farms, I started working at other places, and I was dealing with bullying, and they were all from overweight women. And then I remember working at Flourishing Art, and Mary Landucci would not stop bothering me. She actually had a little book. She had this little evil look on her face, like, ha ha ha, I'm going to get you. And she brought in a book called The Book of Evil, like a little plan, a book. Like you could pick it up at maybe like Hot Topic or one of those novelty type stores. And she had this book about evil plans or something like that. And she had this look on her face, right? And so I realized that, she was bullying. She actually bullied me. Okay. So it was a constant repetitive type thing. Then I would deal with job interviews, and I would, you know what, I'm starting to think back. Okay. Some of these, most of these job interviews were with extremely overweight women, or there was sometimes where there would be with very good looking men, right? As if, and this is what I'm trying to get people to understand. I obviously believe that people should present themselves well. Number one, I do not present myself well to go in and find a romantic partner. That's not the issue. Okay. I do not maintain my body for the sake of, I believe that people should maintain their body because you're supposed to maintain your body. Period. You're not supposed to sit here and allow yourself to get to that point. Okay, it is not right. Now, some people will sit there and they'll argue about it, and I don't want to argue about it. It should have never been a public issue. Okay, it should have never been a public. And so, why do these people not think that this is a form of sexual harassment? It is indeed. It is indeed. Okay, something about my dolls. I'll talk about this later. But anyway, I'm getting intuitive messages. Something about my dolls. There must be a lot of people who died in this, because some people did a lot of foolish stuff, and I keep getting this feeling that, and I know that I've had, intuitive messages, as well as, audio type sounds in my head about spirits coming up to me saying that I'm the savior, that they're sorry, they're apologizing, and everything else. Okay. So Bruce, as well as his mom, Terry, and then Selena and Mary Landucci and all these other women have snowballed into these obese women wanting to bully me. Now, The thing is that now I know a lot of these women would like to use the excuse that, oh well, it's a religious thing. Nowhere in the Bible does it condone being overweight. Nowhere. Okay. Now, some people will say, "Oh, it's an unrealistic standard," and I'm not. And see, this is why I resent. It was unprofessional, and I completely resent them bringing this up and making it an issue. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's a lot of overweight women, obviously. Okay, there's a lot of overweight women, but it becomes an emotional reason why they want to defend their stance on this. Okay, this is a reason why they do it, because these overweight women are in a lot of emotional pain and they want to strike out. I am not the person to strike out to. Okay, I'm getting very tired of dealing with it. And one of these things I've dealt with is where, like, a lot of the overweight women would, have job interviews with me. And, like, the minute I would have a job interview with them, they would give me a refusal letter, like, almost immediately. Okay, so it's important for the Bakersville business owners to know, as well as, be aware, okay, that a lot of these vigilantes are people who are overweight women who have organized or this sort of crime. Okay. And Selena Bruce could have very well been the head of it, but there's a lot of overweight women who are bullying people, and it's wrong. Okay. So I know that a lot of people believe rumors. I think Bruce was starting rumors about me cheating on him or something. We were not in a relationship at that time. Okay. So I got the attention of all these overweight women. Okay, me and my Bruce were no longer a couple, going all the way back to the 90s. By the 90s, we were no longer a couple. I would say the mid 90s, we were no longer a couple. Okay, Bruce moved to San Francisco. He ended up marrying so and so and so. He created this to cause problems. Okay, now still, I still know that I got the attention of these overweight women, and I noticed that I've never really had any job interviews with any women's of, I would say, sizes that are not, plus size. Okay, so it seems as though I'm always getting job interviews, and it could very well be where there's some sort of underground orchestration to where overweight women are bullying people and serving as vigilantes. So I talked about that, and then orchestrating. But okay. So yes, I'm aware of that. Also, I wanted to also say something else about. I wrote it down. Okay. Okay. So all my bullies. I wanted to write all my bullies were overweight women, and I know that, like my mother, for example, my mother uh, would always try to justify the reason why she was overweight. And I never, this is really how I felt when I was younger. I loved my mother. I did. Okay, this is one of the reasons why I'm so disturbed how people could create this, and these overweight bully women who would want to bully me after me dealing with something so traumatic. This is why I'm saying I personally believe that a lot of overweight women are, you know, it's confirmation that a lot of these women are exposed to evil and they have a lot of evil inside of them. Okay. It's not likely to expect a woman who is going through that kind of self-hatred to be supportive of other people. Okay. And I've seen overweight women, where another girl would come in. Like I used to know a girl who, she was half Mexican and half Jewish. And she, was very lean, and she had a very nice, body. And she looked like she could be a model. Okay. And, she kind of played down a lot of stuff. She didn't really, she would dress up sometimes, but for the most part, I would see her coming in with just a ponytail in her hair or whatever. And people would start looking, the overweight girls would start looking at each other and kind of like giving them the eye, like, let's get on with this. Let's get on with this. I will tell you, a lot of these overweight women are some of the main bullies in the workplace. And I hate to say this because, like I said, when I was growing up, I felt sorry for my mother. Okay, but what happened was when I got older, my mother wanted to attack me. Also, when I would defend my sister Lisa, people used to harass my sister Lisa like you will never believe. And I would be like, how dare you talk to my sister that way? Only for my sister to orchestrate, something to where I was going to be bullied by other overweight women. So I've shown my compassion to overweight women. I have shown it. okay? And they have turned around and completely done things to devastate me. In the case of me being adopted, them exploiting this, and even going so far, do I personally believe that there are some overweight women who try to drag my son into this sort of stuff? I personally do. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, it needs to stop. So I'm addressing this issue to Donald Trump that this is going on in this community because I have to go back to work and I'm looking for work and I'm trying to, knock off the vigilantes as much as I possibly can and make people aware. Okay. So it is, all my life, I have done everything I could to defend the overweight women in my life, only for every single last overweight woman in my life to betray me. This is a fact. A fact, okay? So, and it's not that they betrayed me because of me doing anything wrong. It's because they cannot stand to see somebody, existing better than them. Okay. And I know that my mom used to sit here and act like it was, and a lot of older, overweight women try to make up this excuse. Oh, well, it's a part of old age and everything else. Okay. I don't agree with that. And I don't like to sit here and make a public issue of it, but because people made a public issue of me, and I feel like I'm telling you my personal beliefs on this. Okay. I personally, growing up with an overweight mother who could never ever wish the best for any of her children, I noticed that my mother set a very bad example for her other children. Okay, I remember when I was working at a company. Okay, and there was we had donuts. They brought in donuts, right? And this guy had his son with him at the job. Okay, and I'm a sucker for little kids, right? All you have to do all you have to do is be a little kid, and I love little kids that eat. They are so cute. Like, I love seeing people eat. It's adorable, right? And their little chubby cheeks and stuff like that. It's cute, right? So I gave him a donut, and then after he ate a donut, he came back to the box and he kept pointing at the donut box, right? And I'm like, oh my god, how can I say no to him? He is so flippin' cute, right? So I gave him another one, right? And I would have kept doing it, right? Because he's cute, right? He's a cute little kid. So his dad came up to me and he said, please stop doing that. He said, my wife is overweight and I do not want my son to be this way. I don't want him to be this way. And I got, okay. And obviously that's his parent, right? So I'm going to obey what the parent says, right? But what he said to me was his concern. And I understand that overweight women have it's difficult for them to set an example of keeping their kids' bodies in good health. Okay, I know my mom didn't care about my body being in good health, and it's important too. When I talked about the quality of life, okay, the quality of life, uh, you know, people are unhappy, and that's the reason why these overweight women overreact. This is the reason why they bully you, is because they want to be somebody that they're comfortable in their own skin. So, and they take their problems out on other people. That's not my problem. Okay, it is not my problem, and it's not legal for you to do that. And it's obviously, it's pathological, especially the extent to what these women did. And yes, I'm holding Selena and Mary Landucci and all of these women accountable until I get back to work. I'm going to keep talking about this. Why? Because I have to deal with these people. I'll deal with these job interviews, and then all of a sudden it's like, no. And then, and then the reason why is because these overweight women want to create these problems. I personally do not bringing up this issue. Okay, I understand, and I've sympathized with overweight women. I've sympathized with them, but only for them to turn around and try to, create these sort of issues. So the intuitive messages I'm getting is that these people, a lot of these women who orchestrated this underground crime syndicate or contributed to it, right, were the ones who were responsible for me diverting my career goals from being a CPA. Okay, all because, of them feeling threatened by who I am. Now, when I think of the excuse of, I'm sorry about that. Okay, now I know when I think about I think it's the Amish women. Okay, now Amish women are people who, they're very traditional, mind you, okay? But you'll notice that Amish women, Amish white women on top of that, okay, they believe in maintaining their bodies. And at the time of death, they usually are expected to be buried in the same wedding dress that they got married in. Now, I understand, I'm not making excuses of it. And the reason why I'm saying this is that I feel as though some women, the fact is, a lot of people don't know how to have self control. They do not either have self control or they don't know how to eat properly or whatever. Okay. And then they teach these habits to their children. And so my thing is, if you are trying to have a better quality of life and you're looking for women to be mothers to your children, I will tell you, I had an overweight mother, and I don't think they're a good idea. Okay, what I understand is overweight women need to be healed. They need to deal with their psychological issues. Okay, people are not responsible for their problems. I'm not responsible for your problems. You know what I mean? And I get tired of people, and I do believe that these groups of people, they're the ones who went to the White House and created all these issues. This comes from a deep place of hurt, jealousy, and the feelings of inadequacy for them to go that far. For them to me, it does makes absolutely no sense. First of all, it is not illegal to take care of your body. Okay, but what these people wanted to do, they wanted to make sure that I did not exist. They were trying to close every door for me. Yes, these women, Selena Bruce, Mary Landucci, most of the women that I had job interviews with. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I have a job interview, a lot of these job interviews take place on, online. Okay, thank goodness, because I really I don't want to drive. I don't have a car right now, but I would make the trip. I would take an Uber if I felt that, though, there was a job interview that, whatever was promising. But I would see these women and I'm like, okay, I get a little bit of disturbed when I encounter an overweight person online for first initial job interview. And the reason why is because in my back of my mind, I keep thinking that this is going to be a bully. And it's because it's been repeated over and over and over and over again. Okay, so I'm letting the Bakersfield businesses know that you have a lot of not just Christian women, but you have a lot of overweight women who are standing around manning your company, acting as vigilantes, and there may be some sort of underground crime syndicate exclusively for obese women. This has to be something to be considered. Okay, I'm getting very disturbed by having to progress in my job search, and I'm getting tired of it. Like I said, I've been out of work for a long time. I mean, I left the job. I left the job in February. Okay, and it's almost heading towards November. I should be back at work by now. Okay, I should be an employer's first choice. The intuitive message I'm getting is that people are starting to realize that people are realizing a lot of the overweight women are the main bullies in the workplace. Okay, and I don't like to single them out. I don't. Okay, because like I said, all the sort of tactics that people enacted on me, I wouldn't dream of doing to somebody else. Okay, so I don't feel comfortable even talking about this issue, but it was on my mind. The Manda popped into my mind because I feel as though something wanted to let me know that I need to be careful about these sort of people. Okay, now some people, when I was younger, back in the days when I was like 18, 19, 20 years old, when I would go to job interviews or I was working in a company and an overweight person would come in, people used to discriminate against overweight people. I mean, I know in the last, I would say 25 years or something, obesity got out of control. Okay, because I can tell you right now that many years ago, it was not as common as it is now. Okay. And people would come in, overweight people would come in, they would try to find a job, and the managers would get together and they would start laughing at these people, like, as if we would even give this person a job or give these people a chance or whatever. And of course, I was always the person who felt sorry for everybody. Oh, but they need a chance too. They, and everything else. Okay. All I've ever dealt with when it came to overweight women was being backstabbed. I stood up for my mother. When people would laugh at my mother, people laughed at my mother. Oh, your mom's overweight and she never leaves the house. My mother was a recluse. She was what do they call it? Yeah, she was a recluse, and she was a pretty much agoraphobic. There was she stayed in the house consecutively for 14 years straight because she was an overweight woman and she didn't like herself anymore. Okay, and when people would sit there and talk about her, I was always first to stand up for my mother. I was the first to stand up for my sister Lisa, only for these women to get together and try to put me to death. So I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to evil, some people, I mean, I have to be open to the idea that maybe overweight people could be evil. Now, it's not so much that they are evil, but them being in that state and condition is making them that way. So they need to heal. In the meantime, you need to stay the hell out of my way and stop creating problems for me, because it's not professional, it's not legal, and it's obviously a reflection of your own self-hatred. So anyway, I talked about my mother, my bad examples. They're her bad examples of not really being a protective mother. As a mother, if I had a daughter, the first thing I would want her to do is have everything I never had. If I never got to go to the prom. I missed out on a lot of stuff in my life, okay, that, like I said, a lot of people take for granted. So let's just say, for example, I had a daughter, and my daughter got to go to the prom, and she got to do all the things that I never got to do. You know what I mean? She had everything I ever wanted, blah, 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 blah. I would cry tears of joy. You know why? Because every generation should improve themselves. Okay? So with my mother raising her kids, she did not improve the offspring. She made them go backwards. Okay? She made them go backwards. Yes, it is important to take care of your body. And I know many years ago they used to talk very, like it was an important thing to do. Now, like I say, I don't take care of my body as well as maybe I should. Like some people have gym memberships. I don't do any of that sort of stuff. But if I did, I should not be, what do you call it, shamed for it. Okay? And I know that people like to use religion as an excuse. Like I said, it talks about gluttony in the Bible. Okay, so a lot of people use this as an excuse. It's not an excuse. Okay, it's actually creating a horrible gene pool, or somehow making it so that the next generation is going to have flaws. Meaning, like you're producing offspring that are going to be overweight, basically. You know what I mean? And that's not me, it is what it is. Okay. And I don't like to say it, but it's true. So I did mention that. And I also wanted to talk about, okay. So some people, I know that some of these overweight women were bullying me because, or using the issue of me smoking marijuana. Okay. Now I would say that I smoke marijuana. Yeah, I do. And when I was younger, I smoked it mostly because of the euphoric feeling, for social reasons and stuff like that. Now I would say that marijuana is good for me when it comes to relaxation. I need to relax. Now, I do not go to, we would call it regular doctors, and we all know why. Okay, so marijuana is natural. Now, I also understand that there's a lot of people who always want to argue with me. They're like, well, don't you know that, the marijuana industry is most likely being run by big pharma at this point? Possibly. Okay, but you know what? I've made that decision to, in my mind, like, okay, well, weed's legal, so, and that's the only people who are supplying it. If it's poison, I guess that's the best way to die, then, isn't it? That's the way I'm looking at it, okay, at this point. So, aside from that, it really isn't any of your business. When it comes to addiction, I obviously live a very well-functioning life. If I have to get up at a certain time, I can get up at a certain time. Just like people who have a glass of wine, it doesn't affect their life. They can get up, they can function, I'm the same way. Okay. Now, when it comes to overweight women, they can't hide their problem. Okay. It is obvious for everyone to see. And like I said, I am not trying to bash overweight women. I'm just addressing the issue. I am addressing the issue. Okay. I would say that I have a good control over my marijuana, my marijuana issue. I do believe that there has been people who've tracked me when I went to go purchase it and all this other stuff. It's none of your business. Okay. Some of these women, they want to find loose, what do you call it? Loose excuses to justify. First of all, if you're spying on me, then that just proves it. Okay. Anybody in this town, I'm going to say it one more time. If you hear anybody conspiring against me, you report them to Department of Human Trafficking. Okay. Okay. Something about this. Okay. Now I'm going to go into some intuitive messages. Um, oh, I did want to mention my sister Lisa. I do believe my sister Lisa played an integral part in the overweight women bullying. Just about everybody that I cared for participated in it. Okay. You are not my friend. Okay. If you are afflicted with a disease, yes, do I look at being overweight as a disease? Yes, I do. If you are afflicted with a disease and you try to wish that on another person, you are not my friend. Period. Okay. And I understand just because being overweight has become common does not mean that it is something that should be. I do not accept it. Okay. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that there's a lot of women, what I call WAS women, women of substance, women who have high standards, who want to live better lives. And it has nothing to do with men. For some people, it does. If it does have something to do with men, blah, blah, women of substance, they probably want to have good family lives. They want to meet good men who are of good stock and produce good children and produce healthy children is what they want. They have a standard of life, a good way of progressing towards life, and that's their choice. That is the best way that you could possibly live. Okay, and then we have vigilantes in the workplace creating these sort of problems. The intuitive message. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to make a part two. I actually shut the recording off. I have an intuitive message. It says when the, okay. So yes, okay. The intuitive message I'm getting is that it is becoming apparently clear that the overweight women are to be blamed for producing the offspring with problems, and they're also relating associating overweight women with laziness and being jealous. Now, these are the things that people used to say about overweight women all the time. Like I said, I spent my entire life defending overweight women, feeling sorry for overweight women, claiming and calling myself friends of the overweight women. Okay, and guess what? Okay. It's impossible for an overweight woman to be a decent person or friend to a person. This is how I'm starting to feel. Okay. Let me see. Okay. When it comes to, I've hired, I remember hiring a woman named Jennifer. Jennifer was a big woman. I mean, she was so big we had to order a special chair for her. Okay. Jennifer was one of my main perps. Now, I gave this woman a job, and she was quick to sit here and try to put me to death. Okay, so no, I do not appreciate these people. Okay, so I can go on and on and on and on and on. So apparently, I've been getting these messages that a lot of women of substance are interested, and I'm attracting women who have higher standards. Okay, who have higher standards. Yes, if I was a man, right, and I was looking for a prospective marriage mate, I would want a woman that took care of her body, because I want a woman who knows how to take care of my children, my offspring. Okay. Yes, I do believe in this. Okay. And these people are the ones who created these problems. And so I'm telling you is what, I'm telling you my issues, because it was playing heavily on my mind. And yes, the kind of women that I would like to associate with and meet are women of substance. Okay. Why? Because, I don't want to, women want to be friends with other women, but it's like, you got to have standards. You know what I mean? I don't want to be around women that are going to sit here. If you're going out or you're doing something, then they're feeling jealous, competitive, trying to throw you under the bus. And that does not necessarily mean that a skinny woman wouldn't do that either. You know what I mean? But I'm saying is, it seems to be more common. Overweight women tend to be more unhappy with themselves, and they tend to lash out. They lash out. Okay. So yeah, the intuitive message I'm getting is that was the main issue that was keeping me out of the workplace. Do I personally believe that they tried to recruit my son in this as well? I'm going to tell you right now, Do not do that. And do not ever try to put pressure on my child to participate in your genocide program. Okay, and yes, you are responsible for it. I am aware that you try to recruit members of Congress in all of this, and I'm addressing this right now. You don't ever do this. And I do believe the woman over at CPAC, okay, was possibly, I don't know what she was overweight or not, possibly. It seems as though in the last few years, the only women I've encountered in the workplace are overweight women. That's something interesting. Now, why a lot of people do, I remember, hearing people's rationale about why they didn't want to hire overweight women back in the day, okay, is because some people felt as though they made the place look bad. They also used to associate overweight women with being lazy. Okay, they used to, they used to associate overweight women with being lazy. I will tell you, I've said enough. I've done defending overweight women. Okay, I'm done defending overweight women. Okay, I'm aware of them. So this is why I'm telling business owners, be very careful about overweight women. They very well could be a part of a genocide program. They could be intercepting and preventing you from having candidates that really represent your company in a better way. For example, if I was a business owner and I had a health food company, okay, the message I'm trying to convey to the public is that a vibrancy, life affirming stuff. Okay, I've went to health food stores and I've seen overweight people working there, and you know what my mind is? It's like, okay, well, I'm thinking, that's weird, you know, whatever. And don't get me wrong, there's overweight women who are in a position or at a point where they're trying to heal and get themselves, to where they're comfortable. And I'm not trying to say discriminate against overweight women, because I haven't done that. But at the same time, I cannot help but notice this issue that overweight women don't seem to be very supportive of other people, and they do a lot of destructive things to other people. And when it comes to this whole issue of Selena Bruce, Mary Landucci, and all these other women who get together and conspire against people, and this is all they did was gossip, okay? Business owners need to be very much aware of this. The intuitive message I'm getting is that this is the main reason that I've had issues in the workplace, because of the Vigilantes bullying me. If I had a business, if I had a company, I will tell you, I've hired overweight women before, okay? But if I was trying to project a specific image, okay, no, certain things I would not hire them for, okay? Because they obviously don't represent a positive life. The intuitive message I'm getting is that some of these women have died because of their foolishness. Some of these people, I get the intuitive message that some of these people may have self-destructed, okay, because they were called out. Okay, business owners need to understand that, yes, this is going on in the workplaces. The intuitive message I'm getting is I have the support of the entire United States. Okay, a lot of people in the United States are supporting what I'm saying. Okay, these vigilantes, and you don't fire people because they're overweight, but okay, pay attention to what they're doing. Pay attention what's going on. Not just overweight, because you don't want to single out overweight people for harassment in the workplace, okay? But at the same time, business owners need to be aware of it. Okay, there is a lot of orchestration with this sort of stuff. I have not had an interview with anybody who is not overweight. The intuitive message I'm getting is that something about Yahweh not being the true God. A lot of these women were using religion as an excuse for, and I've already known it. Okay, being overweight is addressed in the Bible. Gluttony is addressed in the Bible. Okay, no, being overweight is not spiritual. It is not something that is commendable. It is not respectable, not in any way. Okay, it's not respectable in any way. Okay, I know that my mother was not a good mother because of her problem. Okay, so for women who are struggling with their weight, get into this. If you are not choosing to heal yourself or take care of your issue, that's your choice. Okay, but at the same time, you do not sit here and create problems for me. Okay. So as far as, women of substance who are interested in, or supporting me on the sidelines, and I'm talking about women who care about the quality of their life, I want to thank you. Also, people do like my political views, and it's important for me to reiterate that my reputation is clean. I know a lot of people like to create rumors and gossip about women who take care of themselves. That is not the truth. Okay. Uh, First of all, I know a lot of people wanted to believe that I was a slut. I will tell you right now, I'm not a slut. Okay. Okay. I mentioned in my newsletter that most of the kids that I went to school with were sexually active in their early teens. I was a late bloomer when it came to any sort of activity, and I've had less boyfriends than most women. Okay. I consider myself to be high standard, high stock, meaning like, and I would say that most women of substance are high standard and high stock, meaning they want the best, they want to take care of themselves for all eventualities that may occur in their life. That means, now I'm not interested in dating, but for women of substance who are, you know what, they're already ready to go. If they want to have children or they want to have a family, they know how to take care of their children. Okay, they don't have any habits that they're going to sit here and put on their kid. Say, this is what I'm talking about, a higher level of living, a better standard of living. Because like 40 something years ago, if you took a picture of a crowd of people, you would not see that many overweight people. Yes, there's always been overweight people. Okay, that they've always been existing, but overweight, obesity is just absolutely out of control. Okay. And and nobody can ever say that I've ever hurt anybody or I've ever bullied anybody. I have spent my entire life defending these people. Okay. And I will not defend them anymore. Okay. What else do I want to say? So that's it. So yes, I do believe that they were the ones who orchestrated my in diverting, along with Terry Collins and all these other people. We're working along together to divert my career goals about me not being a CPA. I am somebody who represents a good life. I'm somebody who takes care of my body, mind, and spirit. Okay, I believe in that sort of balance. I believe that I'm a good role model, and I'm a good leader, and I believe that I set a good example. Now, there is no excuse, there is no justification other than their condition of being overweight makes them miserable and likely to lash out. So I'm letting people know in the business, what do you call it? Business owners aware of it. Okay. Uh, wow. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm coming from a place of honesty and of experience with this. Like I said, my entire life I have done nothing but justified, or tried to explain away why my sister ate so much, why my sister should not be made fun of, why blah 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 blah. Okay, like I said, I have cared for these women. Okay, only for them to literally tear my heart out and mistreat me and abuse me. My reputation is clean. Also, I do want to defend sluts for just 1 second. Okay, I am not a slut. Okay, but a lot of people who are sluts are because they have had families maybe neglect them. So I remember meeting a lady many years ago when I worked at CSC. She told me that she slept around with a lot of men because she was lonely. Her parents were abandoned her. She had nowhere to go. She often found herself not having a place to live, so she would try to, hook up with some guy. Okay, I've never done that. Okay, but I at the same time, instead of trying to judge people and the situations that they're in, how about not judging other people? You never know what people have to go through. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that I have the divine right to kill anyone, even if they even look at me funny. Okay, I'm tired of it. So I'm letting the Congress know that what I've had to deal with. I've also letting business owners know, hey, if you're looking for somebody who's going to represent your company, take care of business, not shuck responsibility, and really get down to work, as well as represent your company. Like I was trying to apply to a health food company, right? I think I'm a good representation of that. Not the best, you know, because some people they have bodies that are just like firm. Okay, they're firm, like they go to the gym and stuff like that. No, I don't have a great body. I'm just saying is that, you know what, I'm the kind of person that would be all right. You know what I mean? So anyway, yes, I know a lot of these women resented the fact that I always look stylish, and or I always look, you know, dress well or whatever. Um, that's not my problem. Okay, I'm not responsible for your problems. Okay, the last job interview I had was with I think it was like an apartment complex or whatever. I'm trying to think, was she overweight? I don't remember. Okay, but I bet you in anything she probably was. Okay, I do recall getting a refusal letter or a rejection letter from her. Okay, keeping somebody out of the workplace because they are a nice looking person is not a good idea. Okay, I'm somebody who takes much pride in my professional life, my professional appearance, and yes, I do believe that it's important. Okay. Okay. So anyway, uh, I want also a shout out to the Bakersfield Masonic Temple, and I think a lot of people are waking up and kind of understanding this whole issue of the demiurge. You'll notice that people who are afflicted by the demiurge do demiurge type stuff. Okay, they use the Bible to justify their wickedness. You know, there is no reason why a overweight woman should bully anybody. So if you hear this going on in your workplace, you make sure you report them to the Department of Human Trafficking as soon as you possibly can. Their name, everything, throw them out. Okay. uh, like I said, I don't go around mistreating overweight women, but I also understand that overweight women are very unlikely to be happy for me. They're very unlikely to, you know, help me or support me. Okay, so I'm just letting you know. Okay, I do not want to deal with any. If I deal with any weird, suspicious job interviews, I'm reporting you to the Department of Human Trafficking. Period. Okay. The intuitive message I'm getting is all of my dolls and figurines are enchanted. Um, I would say there's a lot of people who ended up dead who feel very bad about it and who are trying very hard to make apologies. I know Amanda passed away in 2011. She died of an asthma attack. I don't know. She's a Jehovah's Witness. Maybe she'll come back. I hope she's not going to be disappointed that she's going to have to work for the rest of her life. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to talk about that because, you know, it's on my mind. I think I got a lot of things done this yesterday. So today I'm just going to take the day off and kind of chill out, maybe ride my trike around the block a couple of times, and, you know, resume my work search later. But I need to be able to communicate with employers. I need a clear communication, and I do not need interception. Okay. After all the abuse I've received from this community, they should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely. I'm going to wrap this video up, and I will be back with another video some other time.